And if you need to, you can wait a minute to call the meeting to order. Otherwise, everybody who's waiting for us to go live, they get all itchy for they think the link's broken or something.
Okay.
So we'll go live now, or assume we're going live now. It'll take a minute or two to. And if you need to, you can wait a minute to call the meeting to order. Otherwise, everybody who's waiting for us to go live, they get all itchy for they think the link's broken.
Yeah, we're live. Sorry for the playback there.
Oh yes, that was in your end. Okay, good.
Sorry guys, I forgot to put YouTube on mute.
Okay, I think we're live now, Chair Cote.
Okay, well, thank you, and good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order our public Mayor's Council meeting. Before we begin today, we would like to acknowledge that this meeting is taking place on the unceded and traditional territories of the Halkamilam and Semiahmoo and Squamish-speaking people. These refer to the language groups that more widely encompass the Indigenous people of many nations who use and continue to use the land on whose territories Translink's works, operates, and serves. As a council, we recognize the importance of doing our best to build respectful relationships that contribute to the stewardship of the land and waters in the communities with the integrity and consideration for future generations. So with that, I would like to call on the Mayor's Council if we can get a motion to adopt our agenda this morning.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And Carol, if we can just confirm that you've been able to take attendance for this morning's meeting?
Yes, Chair Cote, no problem.
Okay, thank you. And we're now on to the approval of our minutes from the December 3rd meeting. I'll look for a motion to approve.
Moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, this morning we do not have any registered public delegates, so we're going to move on straight to item number 3, which is the 2021 Mayor's Council Work Plan. And I'm going to pass it off to Mike to do a short presentation to the.
For sure. Well, thank you, Chair. There's for the Mayor's Council, you really shouldn't see anything new here. But we did want to review the work plan that had been approved as part of the 2021 budget and work plan that was approved in December, was released at that time out into the public. The reason we wanted to just ensure that these objectives are always in front of you is that, as you know, we've got so many streams of work happening at the same time. And the components of those work, some don't always look like they're connected, but we wanted to ensure that you understood and really put into context that the 4 objectives we identified last September as our focus for this year and next year are really the things that are driving almost everything that's on your agenda, and that is COVID recovery and rebuilding, which includes approving a new investment plan, which will be we'll get an update later in this meeting. Part of that will be renewing the 10-year vision. And then to support all of that, we're also going to need to develop and finish the Transport 2050 long-term plan. And we're going to need support of government relations. And then we've got an objective around governance. So there's nothing new here. It's just an update and a reminder. And then again, almost everything you will see in our agendas in this year are going to be really focused around completing the Transport 2050, renewing the 10-year vision, and then getting as a sort of an interim step a new 10-year investment plan, which will help us with the COVID recovery building strategy.
Okay, thank you, Mike. I'll now open it up if there are any questions or comments from the group. Not seeing any. Appreciate the update. I think it's I think we have a big work plan ahead of us, but I think it's really focused on the important things that we're going to have to work through this year. First and foremost, dealing with the challenges that COVID has still presented to our transit system there, but giving an eye to some of the other important work plans and getting things back on track. including the existing mayor's 10-year plan, but thinking into long-range planning to transport 2050 and the refresh of the mayor's 10-year plan. So it's definitely a very full program, but one I think that this group can engage in, and looking forward to the work we have ahead. So if I can get a motion to receive this for information.
So moved.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried. Okay, moving on to item number 4, report from Translink Management. I'm going to pass it over to Kevin Desmond.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the Mayor's Council. So I have the whole rest of the public meeting, it would appear, but I won't take up all of that time, Mr. Chair. First, I want to just note, today is Bell Let's Talk Day. I'm sure you all know that. It serves to destigmatize mental health illness and issues. 2020 has seen significant impact on our mental health as citizens of the world, let alone here in Metro Vancouver. We've all likely learned the importance of checking in on loved ones this year. Even so, it's reported that 2 out of 3 people experiencing illness suffer in silence. As a reminder to start conversations around mental health with those you are close to and trust. Yesterday at TransLink, we had our semi-annual town hall for some 600 members of the TransLink team, and this topic was top of mind. We talked a fair amount about it. And even as we're still struggling and managing through the COVID crisis in and of itself, the impact it's having on all of us, whether it's in our work lives or private lives, it's significant. And as we start moving out of the COVID crisis, as vaccines are well into the population, one wonders, well, there'll be a second wave of a public health problem as it relates to what we've all had to endure and will continue and endure in COVID. So it's something that we as an organization internally, we're thinking about that, and we want to make sure we have a good way to action that in many respects throughout our organization for all 8,000 of the TransLink team. Next slide, please. So on the other day, on Tuesday, we made an announcement with Minister of Infrastructure, Federal Minister of Infrastructure, McKenna, for the procurement of 15 new battery electric buses. This photo is from our Route 100 pilot project, one of the 4 buses and 2 charging stations. You may all remember it was just 11 months ago. We had a Mayor's Council meeting at the Anvil Center, and we talked about the low carbon fleet strategy, and we got the authorization to begin moving forward with the aggressive component of the low carbon fleet strategy. And even as COVID got much of everybody's work down, we were still advancing the low carbon fleet strategy under your direction and TransLink board's direction. So the announcement the other day for these 15 buses is just that step along the way. With these 15 buses, we will be able to fully electrify the Route 100 with a total of 19 buses. The Route 100 has its terminals at the 22nd Street interchange, Expo Line interchange, and then through New Westminster, Burnaby, and into Vancouver, where it terminates at the Marpole Transit Center. This is really exciting, and it really does mark, in many respects, the absolute beginning of the transformation, what I would hope to be the inexorable transformation of our bus fleet to electrify the bus fleet. You see the numbers here, and I won't repeat the numbers. Those are our policy targets that you approved I think in the fall of 2019. Also, per your direction, we are moving forward to procure another 57 battery electric buses. Those buses would operate out of the Port Coquitlam Transit Center. We in fact have this item, as many of you know, before the Metro Board coming up tomorrow, as a matter of fact, to continue to access federal gas funds. So with the 15, and then which these buses will be in service early next year, we hope, from Nova Bus, and then the additional 57 buses by around 2024, we'll be well on our way on that path. Of course, per the discussion we had with you a year ago in person, back in the good old days where we could meet in person, it was clear that to move forward beyond those numbers, we will continue to need to partner with senior government. So we continue. I was very pleased that we were joined by Minister McKenna. It's in her mandate to help transform bus fleets throughout this country to battery electric. So we're looking forward to continuing to advance those partnerships with the federal government and, in fact, the provincial government. So great announcement, and I think it'll be a nice new additional ribbon cutting next year when the next generation of these buses, which, by the way, have a much greater range, these 15 Nova buses, than the 4 buses that are currently in the pilot project. Just as an illustration that this industry continues generation by generation of fleets to improve the cost effectiveness and the range of battery electric buses. Again, the future is bright for this particular technology. Next slide, please. Wanted to update you. Some of you will recall that Translink is partnering with COVID testing. Last fall, we were asked to use secondary lots at park and rides as COVID test facilities. We had the space, obviously, with our diminished ridership, to support this community response to the pandemic. 2 of Fraser Health's drive-through sites are now park and rides in Coquitlam and at South Surrey. I think these photographs depict both of the sites, not particularly busy days, but I can report that at the mid-November peak at the Coquitlam Center site, some 500 tests daily were performed. Now, about 225 daily tests. The facility has a capacity for 800 daily tests. The South Surrey Park and Ride has been running since December at about roughly 160 tests per day, a capacity of 700. So we were very, very pleased to help partner with this public health to make our facilities available to Fraser Health. Next slide, please. So no news here. I think you all by now know this. With the new government in place, and then soon after the election, the announcement of the changes in ministerial leadership, we are now working directly with Minister George Payman, with Translink's file now within his Ministry of Environment and Climate Change. I've had the opportunity to meet with Minister Heyman now a couple of 3 times, and I know many of you have, I'm sure, had reason to interact with Minister Heyman. In addition, of course, Translink is a complicated enterprise as it relates to provincial business. We also have 2 other players that in their mandate letters will be very important and are very important to our file. Chief among them, Minister Fleming, the new Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure. MOTI has historically and will continue to have a very significant role, particularly in our big capital projects. They will have the lead role in the Surrey-Langley SkyTrain issues, as a matter of fact. And of course, Minister Bowen Ma, the Minister of State for Infrastructure, within her mandate letter, also covers a number of Translink's interests, whether it's regional service integration or broad interregional capital programs. So we are looking forward to understanding the different roles and responsibilities and working very closely with each of these ministers and their staff, and much more to go. We have delivered in December, we delivered briefing notes through Minister Heyman's office on the key policy issues that we're working on. You're very familiar with those key issues, whether it's many in the work plan that Mike just talked about, whether it's our investment plan, Surrey-Langley SkyTrain, the low carbon fleet strategy. And in fact, the very first time I ever met Minister Heyman, which was quite some time ago, that was the topic. And I know he's very excited to help lead us to this next generation of zero emission buses. And of course, the issue of free fares for children. All of these issues will emanate through all 3 of these ministers in one form or another. So it's a new day in the province. I think they're pretty well organized at this point to hit the ground running with us at the staff level, and I think with you in the intergovernmental level as well. Next slide, please. So finally, if I may, Mr. Chair, have some parting remarks. This is my last Mayor's Council meeting, of course. You can keep the previous slide up there, actually. Well, that's okay. You can do this too. So this is my last meeting with all of you, a public meeting. And if I can paraphrase one of our mayors, I will be brief. The time has gone by extraordinarily fast. 5 years, I can't believe it has been 5 years. I remember well in my first weeks on the job, touring each and every one of your city halls and meeting with each of the mayors one-on-one. Of course, it was the different mayors council at the time, but I met all of the mayors early on. And I know at the time they appreciated that because they hadn't seen much of the TransLink CEO in the past. Some of you I met in your city halls, and a few of you I met in the field, whether it was Mayor Cote riding bikes to look at the waterfront along the Fraser River, or Mayor Masato for him to express his dreams and aspirations for the city of North Vancouver. It was a way to set the tone. It was a way for us to demonstrate, for me to demonstrate, that we were interested in your specific municipal interests and in your regional interests and how we can knit this organization together and be an action-oriented organization. It's been my honor, privilege, and pleasure to lead TransLink through this period and working so closely with the Mayor's Council. We have, in fact, accomplished a great deal together. When I arrived in early 2016, TransLink's reputation, as you all know, had been pretty battered. We had our service issues, particularly on SkyTrain, which undermined TransLink's reputation and public confidence in our great transit system. We had stagnant ridership. We had a lack of visible focus on improving the customer experience. And we had what I would have considered moribund stakeholder relations. TransLink at best was treading water at the time. There was the failed plebiscite. Don't have to tell that story, you know that better than I do. That created a deep bruise on TransLink, and in fact could have been seen as a repudiation of our visions and dreams to improve mobility in this region. There was political acrimony amongst the mayors with the province and between the board and Mayor's Council, with staff stuck firmly in the middle of those difficulties. But we've turned a lot around since then. Clearly, the announcement of the Federal Public Transit Infrastructure Fund in early 2016 reinvigorated the Mayor's plan, reinvigorated our expansion plans, was the catalyst for action. And we worked tirelessly, we as staff worked tirelessly with you to craft the scope and the funding tools that led to 2 investment plans, one in late 2016 and then summer of 2018, to unlock $9 billion in the critically needed transit expansions that benefit virtually every one of the 23 communities that this Mayor's Council represent. Now, throughout, I fashioned and considered it was my job to support the Mayor's Council decision-making through the excellent staff work of the TransLink staff and your absolutely exceptional Executive Director, Mike Buda. And we improved the collaboration between the Mayor's Council and the board, again, to get action, to make things happen. It was our job to execute your plans. The Mayor's Council has the central role in deciding what the plan is, what the big moves are, and find out and figure out how to fund it with our support, and then to hold us accountable to deliver on your plans. You give us that responsibility. It's a responsibility I've always taken very, very, very seriously to implement these incredibly important plans. And before COVID hit, we were right on target, implementing virtually all of the plans in the 2 investment plans according to expectations. And that then enables us to demonstrate value for money, for taxpayers and users throughout the system, which in my view then allows you, the Mayor's Council, our policymakers, the space and freedom to be thinking about and working on the next big moves, next investment plans, T2050 long-range visions, new mobility options, and the like. As long as we're delivering and doing it smartly, it gives you that space. Although COVID is obviously a setback, I'm confident that the people in this region want more and better transit options. They want a successful Translink. That's what I heard repeatedly when I got here. And we continue to hear that even in the midst of COVID. They just want more and better mobility options. You know, regional metropolitan transit governance is complicated everywhere in Canada and in North America that I'm aware of. There is no silver bullet, single approach. I believe that we've demonstrated over these 5 years that Translink is very well structured to continue this very fine progress with your leadership, where you're able to make those big move decisions. And through the effective governance and administration then of the operations of this organization, it allows us to do the things that we've accomplished in these last 5 years. Now, the current challenge, digging out of COVID, will test our collective resolve. You're going to have a tough year this year. There's no question about it. We've got a significant structural deficit, and at the same time, and we have to figure out how to get Surrey Langley SkyTrain going as quickly as possible. And we still want to get that T2050 plan out there for the public so that you can start to express what the next 30 years need to be for your constituents and the residents of this region. But so long as we remain focused on engagement, collaboration, partnerships, and consensus building, I'm absolutely optimistic that Translink will continue its leadership role in sustainable multimodal transportation. So in closing, it's been my pleasure getting to know all of you. The first Mayor's Council that I got to work with in this particular Mayor's Council. You're all really smart, great people. You're not always on the same page. You're always going to have different perspectives. But at the end of the day, what I've seen is when it's time to make the decisions, this body makes the right decisions. Because I hope we give you the good staff work to help support your smart decision making. I'm absolutely confident that that's going to continue. I think that Translink has, in this region, have great prospects. We've set it up with a fine management team at Translink. So I want to wish all of you the very best of luck. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Kevin Desmond. And you know, it's kind of sad receiving your last CEO report to the Mayor's Council. But I'd like to say a few words on behalf of the Mayor's Council to really thank you for the passion and dedication and work that you have done for the Translink organization. You know, as you mentioned in your comments, when you joined the Translink team, it was a difficult time for the organization. We were a region that had really seen stalled transit expansion for a number of years. Public confidence in the organization was also at a challenging time coming out of the failed referendum. But during your time as leader of the Translink organization, Translink really has turned a corner. We have seen year after year before COVID-19 record ridership in the region and ridership that has led all of the Canada and the United States. We've also, along with that, been able to finally unlock and invest and improve into transit improvements in every corner of our region here. You know, I think the successes that we've had during this time isn't because of any one individual, but I think it's been about the teams and confidence that you've been able to help build. You have helped build the confidence in the organization, and you've inspired the family at Translink to be passionate and dedicated to the work improving transportation and public transit in the Metro Vancouver region. Now, I think if you were to write a book about the history of politics in the province of British Columbia, you probably have to dedicate a significant section to transportation. There's always been a lot of drama, a lot of politics related to transportation, but during your time as CEO of Translink there, I think we've hit a real good success point here at the Mayor's Council, but also with our relationships with all levels of government. You mentioned in your talk the work that you've done to really establish relationships with all of the mayors across the region, from smaller cities to larger cities. We all have our unique challenges and issues there, but you have made sure in yourself, but also the organization, to make sure that all of our issues and concerns matter and have been worked through. And I think you've done a great job in developing relationships across the Mayor's Council. We've also seen really excellent partnerships during this time provincially and federally. And I think that's when the stars really start to align, is when all three levels of government are singing off the same song sheet. And I think there's been a lot of work by a lot of parties involved with that, but I know you have played a big role to help smooth that and get those that political alignment to happen. And that really is where the successes really start to come to be. I think your time at Translink, you really have lived and breathed this organization and really dedicated your all to the success of the work you've done. But I think we all know, as an American, that has posed some challenges personally there, challenges that were only exacerbated with the pandemic, that made connections between you and your home state of Washington State and your family that much more challenging there. So really appreciate you being able to give yourself to the organization and recognizing the sacrifices and challenges that you've made. And obviously, I know this departure is going to give you a better opportunity to reconnect there with your family in Washington State. Now, I think if there was any question about you being a strategic thinker, I think the fact that you managed to spend the entire Trump era in Canada, I think really speaks volumes to your strategic skills there. I know you are looking forward to getting back home to friends and family and being able to better connect. But we really appreciate being able to have you here and borrow you during this time, because I think you've done a lot of incredible work that will leave a legacy in this region and in this organization for much time to go. Now, as you join the organization in a difficult time, unfortunately, you're leaving in a challenging time as well too. COVID-19 has rocked not only our transit organization, but transit agencies all around the world. But I know 2020, although it was a difficult year, was a year that we worked hard to weather the storm, to be able to get the commitments from upper levels of government to keep the transit system going and put us in a strong position to be able to weather this and move out of COVID as best we can, and hopefully even be able to build back stronger and pick up the momentum that we were at before 2020 hit. Although we are certainly saddened by your departure and wish you the best of luck, I know you have built an incredibly strong team around you, and a team that has confidence, that has passion, that is going to be able to continue to do the incredible work for Translink and for the region. So with that, I'd like to, on behalf of the Mayor's Council, thank you for all of your time and dedication here at Translink and with the Mayor's Council. So I'd now like to open it up if any other folks would like to make any further comments. Mayor Froese.
Thank you very much, Chair Cote. You certainly, I think you spoke very well, eloquently on behalf of all of us, and you said what was on our mind. I just want to add a few things and appreciation to Kevin's leadership here at Translink over the last 5 years. I remember when Kevin came in. I've been here, it's my 10th year on the Translink Mayor's Council, so sort of seeing the changes, and certainly for those that weren't here before, Kevin did come, and as he said, he set the tone, and he set the tone in a very positive way. Kevin is a true ambassador for Translink. It didn't matter if things looked tough, things looked down. Kevin was in front. He led from the front. He was in front, facing the media, facing the public when difficulties arose, and his manner, his compassion, his commitment to Translink came through, and he gained the trust of not only the public, the Mayor's Council and staff, but I think he gained the trust of everyone who worked with him. And that's an important aspect of any leader. We all know Kevin's a great leader, but when we have a snowstorm or a tunnel floods in a major rain event, leadership comes through, but we kind of expect that. But when there's a COVID pandemic, which no one saw coming, when the corporation the enterprise is attacked, a major cyber attack, true leadership came through with Kevin. And I was wondering at the beginning of the pandemic, how are we going to get through this? And Kevin was positive all the way. And I think that gave a lot of confidence in I know for myself, but certainly for the public, that somehow we're going to get through this. And it was positive throughout the whole thing. And that's a true test of leadership. And you really came through with fighting flying colors, and we do appreciate that. You took Translink from, maybe say in a way from the back alley. It was difficult to go out there and say, Translink's doing a great job, and people were attacking. It was kind of rough in my first few years, and we as mayors are trying to do the best we can. And with your leadership, bringing the Mayor's Council and the board together, and as you said, working together to make great decisions and move us forward. You took us out of that dark back alley and put us in the forefront. We can all be proud of what a great organization Translink is, and that's a big part. I know you have a great team, but a big part in the leadership that you provided to Translink. So I'm gonna miss you. Gonna miss. Too bad we can't meet in person anymore. And you'd have that banana halfway through the meeting, and it's like, oh, he's every day, and part of your character. And but you're very much appreciated, and I'm gonna miss you. I hope you do pop by one day when you're into Langley or in the region. Give me a call, and love to see you. And again, I just want to thank you for everything you've done, and you become. I consider you a friend, not a work colleague. So not just a work colleague, but a really good friend. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Dingwall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I thought you indicated this was a roast. I actually wrote to Kevin privately, but I really did want to say this directly to you, Kevin. And I truly enjoyed your leadership, witnessing obvious competencies, as well as our varied discussions over the last 2 years. And I really appreciate you taking the time to treat all member jurisdictions and directors, including Pitt Meadows, equally and fairly. You'll be missed. Completely understand your sacrifices, including family separation impacts. Sincerely wish you health and happiness. Again, thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Mayor Vandenbroek.
Oh, Kevin, I'm still in denial. I don't want you to go, but I wish you all the best. And I just really want to say that I've learned so much from you. And I think that's, for me, going to be the hardest part is, and I hope I can still call you for advice or whatever. And you're just amazing. And I just want you to know that you'll always be my #1 transit nerd. And I want to thank you for that.
Thank you, Mayor Richard Seward.
Thank you. And very quickly, there's only a half dozen of us that were there to welcome you to the job that are still here to say goodbye to you. But thank you so much. Many people have said the same things, that you turned around the perception, not just the organization, but the public perception of the organization in such an incredible way. From that first time when I ran into you on a SkyTrain car, which is such a small thing and yet such an enormous thing, to that moment when we had just lost our COVID testing center, or at least that was the announcement, and we were struggling because the Fraser Health wanted to use a Translink lot that isn't actually owned by Translink, it's owned by the province, and it was incredibly complicated. And I made, at Fraser Health's request, a simple call to you. You came out of a meeting, took the call, and said within an hour. And lo and behold, within an hour. And the testing center was able to open up on time because you simply grabbed something that wasn't even transit and said, we'll fix this. So on behalf of our community, thank you for coming to Vancouver. And if you ever get north of the Fraser again, post-pandemic, please give me a call. We'll go for a beer or a sandwich or something. You've got a bright future. You've done some tremendous stuff for this region and a real legacy to look back on. So thank you.
Mayor Walker.
Thank you very much, Chair Cote. And Kevin, I would echo everything that the other mayors, council have said. Certainly, I think Mayor Cote put it succinctly, and I wouldn't dream of jumping into that realm. Mine is a more personal nature, Kevin. When I first ran for this position, I had no idea what I was getting into. I had no idea what I was going to get into as a mayor. I'd never been involved in civil politics or civic politics. I certainly didn't understand what I was going to get into when it came to Translink and Metro Vancouver and all the other pieces of it. And I think that that's where I saw you come shining through as an individual who was willing to take a step back, take a few minutes and give somebody who really didn't know what they were asking or what they were looking for the time to be able to sit down and talk about that. And as Mayor Vandenbroek has said, kind of be the mentor that was needed there. And that was something that I needed very, very badly. And you frankly delivered it in so many ways. There was the time I asked if I could have a meeting with yourself and with Sarah to talk about just the local transit and how it was going to be delivered. I wasn't necessarily sure I was going to get to see the CEO, but sure enough, you and Sarah and I sat down and had a really good conversation. You gave me the amount of time I needed. There was no, oh, I got to go now. You were there for me, for our community. The relationship we formed, I think, is one that I'll always hold close and hold dear. And beyond that, you also had Sarah and the crew come out to a public session one evening in White Rock and talk to us about what was coming for our community and listen to us for what our community needed. To me, that is the leadership that I look for. I congratulate you on the work you've done here. I wish you all the best in the future. You are going to be a difficult act to follow. Somebody will come along and do it. But even today, I've learned more about you and what you've done in the number of years that you've been here. So just thank you very much for everything you've done. All the best in the future. Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks. Mayor Borden.
I just wanted to acknowledge the outreach as well, not just within public transit, but before I was mayor, I was the president of Pitt Meadows Maple Ridge Chamber of Commerce, and myself and Mayor Dingwall. But before, on our previous political watch, Kevin came out to our Chamber of Commerce. He was the guy that would come out, and if there was a challenge, he'd meet you and have lunch in the local restaurant. I remember sitting with Shirley. So I just want to acknowledge that was that personal touch that really, that level of outreach was just really got you on the team. And we had those frank discussions. And so I just want to acknowledge that the depth of the outreach and how far Mr. Desmond was prepared to go to get the job done. And you did it in spades. So as Siskel and Ebert would say, 2 thumbs up, Kevin. Congratulations on an excellent job done. And I'm not happy the US is getting you back, but you've left an excellent legacy behind.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron.
Well, I'm not going to repeat what others have said, except to say that I agree with them. I will just make one point, is that one gets the measure of a man in the most difficult moments. And you truly are someone who epitomizes grace under pressure. And of course, the most difficult moment of your tenure was the beeline debacle in West Vancouver, which I want to sincerely apologize for. It was a low point in your tenure, I'm sure, but we managed to persevere, and through it all, you actually were really, I would say, graceful, and you worked with us as best we could. You were patient with us when we weren't able to keep up our end of the bargain, and so that was much appreciated. It's a small thing, but it is truly when you get to know somebody is when it gets uncomfortable. And I through the entire time I've had the pleasure of being on the Mayor's Council, I've found you to be most impressive when things haven't gone quite right. And through no fault of your own or the organization's own, things have been quite challenging in the last few years. So my enduring image is during a particularly stressful meeting, I looked over and you were unwrapping your tinfoil sandwich for the day, and it was a peanut butter and jam sandwich. And I looked at you and said, "That's what you're going to eat?" And he said, "Yes, this is my comfort food." So you obviously were feeling stress inwardly, but you did not show it outwardly, and that's truly impressive. So I wish you well, and I thank you for all of the good work you've done here, and you've certainly left a legacy.
Thank you, Mayor Buchanan.
Thank you very much,
Chair Cote. And yes, Kevin, I will echo the comments of my colleagues. And, you know, you've always told us over the years, a strong transportation plan is dependent on a strong community design and land use. And I think you have built a tremendous legacy and really forged those relationships, not only with Metro Vancouver as our regional planning body, but also within the business community. And I think those are incredibly important stakeholders that we have in order to really make this next phase of transportation work and make a stronger region. So I want to thank you for that. I'm sorry that you're not going to be here to see rapid transit come to the North Shore. But please know that you were part of building that legacy, and look forward to kind of crossing paths or see what comes next for you. But wish you all the very best, and have a wonderful time reuniting with your family. And hopefully we can travel to the United States at some point and see what you're up to. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor McCallum.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I just want to say to you, Kevin, the amount of work that you have done over the last couple of years, I've only known you for a couple of years, but the tremendous amount of work under difficult situations often is truly reflective of your character. I can tell you that one of the things that you impressed upon me was the fact that anytime we phoned you to ask to talk to you about certain circumstances, you were always coming forward and saying, let's get together, let's talk about this situation. And to me, that's a true leader, when somebody will want to look and try to solve the problems and listen to people and so forth. I think that's one of your best qualities. And I want to just thank you for all the work you've done for Translink over the years. Translink certainly over many years is a very difficult organization to manage, but you have found the way to do it over those difficult years. And I just want to wish you, and I share all the comments of my colleagues, and I just want to wish you a good time in the future. Have good health. I'm glad you're going to enjoy your family. All of these jobs are very difficult on families, and you need to take the time to enjoy your families. I wish you well in the future, and thank you for all the efforts you put into Translink.
Thank you. Mayor Vagerma.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Desmond, thank you so much for meeting me at City Hall. I, like others, remember that as kind of an interesting change in terms of accessibility to the top office of Translink and having that kind of attitude for the smaller communities. I want to wish you all the best. It's been a pleasure serving as your excuse for jumping the border over the past 5 years there. And hopefully you can be ours in the future. So thank you so much, and all the best down south.
Okay. Well, I think all of those comments are really reflective of the message we wanted to send to you, Kevin. And I think there was individual stories from each of us there. And I think you through your work, you managed to be able to connect with all of us in a way and do your work there. So really on behalf of the Mayor's Council, thank you for everything that you've done with the Translink organization, and we wish you the best of luck in your future endeavors, wherever they may take you back home in Washington State here. We will get through COVID, and we do hope, and you're obviously welcome to visit the Metro Vancouver region, and I know we'd be happy to stay in contact. I think we learned not only do you enjoy a good peanut butter and jelly sandwich, you also do occasionally enjoy a good craft beer, and we've got lots of that in Metro Vancouver. So I think maybe Mary Harvey might get the first round, but we're welcome to join us and connect. So don't be a stranger, and thanks so much, Kevin.
Thank you very much, everyone. I appreciate all those very kind words. And it's now time for me to have my banana.
Well, I just wanted to make it clear, we just declared you here in Coquitlam an honorary resident of our community. So there you go.
Thank you.
Thanks for putting up with us.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, I'll look for a motion to receive Kevin Desmond's final report to the Mayor's Council.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, that concludes our open meeting today. Our next Mayor's Council meeting is February 25th. Before we close off the meeting, I did also want to make one final acknowledgement. We've had Deputy Mayor Lisa Wilder from Balcarra join us over the fall period, but there was recently an election there, so I did want to say thank you to Deputy Mayor Lisa Wilder for joining and contributing during this period. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and with that, I will look for a motion to adjourn our open meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, so I think we will take a 5-minute break if people want to stretch their legs and get up for a moment. And I believe we're staying on the same link, correct, Mike?
Yeah, we are. We'll just turn off the live stream now, Gemma, and yeah, we can just restart in 5 minutes. Same link. You don't need to leave, or if you do, you can just rejoin.
Okay, we'll see you.